Very dear students and my friends, very dear audience, very warm welcome to Dr. Hamid YouTube channel. In today's short video, we are going to talk about different techniques which the Pakistani writers use in order to highlight the narratives which they want to make and to make their stories unique. And one of them, as you know, worldly famous is Hamid. Today I shall be in this video trying to understand or to share with my audience what are his major techniques in different novels. For this purpose, let us first of all move on to the first novel written by him, Hamid. This novel is about Pakistan, but yet a lot of American stories also included in that. It has tried to follow the post-colonial technique of multiple narratives and multiple stories, or the stories within the stories, like the Russian dolls. For example, here in this novel, we have the stories narrated by not only Dara, the protagonist of the story, but also Aurangzeb, the second protagonist of the story, but also Taji, the Mumtaz Kashmiri, that she also tells her story, and many other people also tell their stories. Those chapters are divided for this purpose, so multiple narratives are there. One of the post-colonial writers' technique is there. And moreover, Macho Man, the man who is Übermensch type of man, that has been brought to be the protagonist of the story. Dara, otherwise a good person, has not that good habits altogether, and he is doing the things which are mostly unacceptable. For example, selling off the drugs, for example, beating up the people, for example, involving in iniquities or some other things, but yet he is the protagonist of the story. So in this way, the new type of protagonist comes forward before us. This is post-Nietzsche's idea of the Übermensch, which he proposed, that one tries to succeed as one would like to see himself or herself successful. And then comes the second novel, that is The Reluctant Fundamentalist. Here, even a newer technique was adopted by Hamid, and this novel is short in size, not that of the regular sized novel, but here the technique of monologue has been used. And every one of you understands very well that monologue means actually that one person is speaking and he is also responsible for mentioning the actions, the talks, the gestures, or the movements of the other people as well. So in this way, this is a monologue. The speaker, Genghis Khan, talks about everybody. He remains the only one speaker. Nobody is else there, and the narrators of the multiple stories also been dropped, probably to highlight the importance of the event which has changed the political and the, up to some extent, military or the social system of the world, and has brought forward a type of thing which was named by the president of USA, then president of USA, that is the New World Order. And that is the kind of discussion on the word terrorism and its impacts on Pakistan and the people in America and the Pakistani people living in America. So that was the second type of technique adopted by Hamid. In his third novel that we have about Pakistan most of the time, that is How to Get Filthy Rich in Rising Asia. Here, a very unique technique was used, that there were no particular names, as most of the time we have the names of the characters, maybe fictitious names. But here, most of the time, the writers use the pronoun you, as if the writer is addressing somebody, some hidden audience is there to whom the writer is addressing. So most of the time, the protagonist of the story is referred to be as you. But the other characters also do not have the genuine names. For example, one girl is called Pretty Girl, and the wife of the protagonist is called Wife. And in that way, we have the people who don't have their regular names, but they are addressed like he or she or you. These are the type of, this is going to be another technique by Hamid in this novel. But in all these novels, we did have the specification of the space, the territory in which it's being enacted. For example, in case of Hamid, we have the American territory as well as the Pakistani territory. The Lahore city is predominantly indicated too, because of which we are able to recognize what is Lahore, where is Lahore. And in the same way, in the second novel, again, we get a lot of descriptions of Lahore, as well as the places and spaces in America, in Chile, in Philippines, wherever the protagonist goes. But the same was the case with the third novel as well. But in the fourth novel, that was The Exit West, we do find the people are having names. For example, Nadia and Said are the two characters, they do have the names. And then other characters are related to these two characters, not with the names but with the relations. But addition to this is that the places are not well defined. The spaces are not mentioned. Even the origin of the story or the space setting of the story is very easy to judge though, but it's not mentioned which city it's going to be, which state it's going to be, or which is the part of the world, the territory. One gets the indications that possibly it's going to be Afghanistan, or it's going to be Iraq, or Syria, or some other piece of this world. So that unanimity has been created again in this novel, not with respect to the titles of the characters, but with respect to the naming of the spaces. We do have another technique which has been used by him that is very much close to the magical realism, and that is to introduce borders in the shape of the doors. The borders are the doors, that the doors open and you get the entry into the next country, where the entry is not being made with the help of the passports or with the help of the migration documents, but actually it's a magical treatment that one just enters into the door by paying the money. And when the door opens, you fall into the new state, into the new territory, the new border. So that's the kind of technique used by him, which makes his novel really, in the painful migrations, it creates really the impression of some, fairy tale as well, where the technique of like Khulja Sim Sim, or the sesame, open sesame door, that has been employed in order to give the color of imagination more and more, and to make the story more and more acceptable. And so in that way, we have the harsh borders, we have the soft borders as well, and the protagonists keep on moving from one place to the other. And most of these places are referred to sometime with names and sometimes without names. So the technique of making the stories, a type of guessable things that one can guess, the writer doesn't show the places or the names of the places or the things in that specific way, as fictional names and fictional stories most of the time come. And if we lastly move on to the novel Last White Man, that novel is again carrying a very different technique, and that possibly was not utilized by Hamid in any of his novels. Here, the language or the making of the sentences or the creating of sentences, that has been used in order to provide the specific technique of Mohsen Hamid's writing. That here the sentences are very, very long. Sometimes if you start a sentence from the start of the passage, it may end at the close of the passage. This is not all. Sometimes the sentence would start at the start of the page and would end at the next page, for example. The dot or the full stop would come. Meanwhile, it will be interspersed with the commas, or sometimes with small dash, or sometimes with semicolon. But most of the time, comma will be there, that is used in order to continue the type of thing which is being referred to in one sentence. So it is less of page numbers, more of sentence numbers, one can say. That every page is having one sentence most of the time, or two sentences, or sometimes two pages may be having one sentence. This is a new experiment with the language in Pakistani post-colonial fiction, though it's not new one. In the other countries, in the other states and nations, they do have many, type of novels and writings with long sentences. Like if you read the prose work of Russell or Huxley, you can find the similar techniques there as well. But here, unusually long sentences are available throughout the novel. That's something different as a technique used by Mohsen Hamid. And here also is taken a new technique that the post-colonial is turning into new phase. That it's not simply talking about the people who were oppressed people, who were marginalized people within the formerly post-colonial states. It's talking about the people who are living in the colonizing states, who are living in the new colonial states like USA, where how othering and marginalization is being practiced, that is indicated in an indirect way, that all the people have become brown and nobody remains white other than the one's mother and one's father, who too die with the passage of time, and everybody becomes the same. So the theme of the novel may be something else, but the technique, as this video is mostly concerned with the techniques, that is the linguistic experiment made by Mohsen Hamid. So in the novels of Mohsen Hamid, we have different techniques, and let's expect some new thing when a new novel by Mohsen Hamid comes. So it means that sometimes he adheres to the colonial and post-colonial traditions of writing, sometimes he adheres to postmodern techniques of writing, and sometimes he adopts new techniques in order to suit with the new word, new trends of the word, and sometimes he gives us one novel and one man's story so that we may be able to concentrate more on that man, on that story, instead of concentrating on so many people. So in this way, multiple techniques are used by him, and that's the dexterity of Mohsen Hamid, that he is capable of doing so. And that is why in some next coming novel we'll be expecting more or something like that. So these are some of the techniques used by him in his fiction, and many of the post-colonial writers share the similar techniques. If ever we find a chance to go through the text of other novels, we can find the similar resembling techniques as well. So that's all about it. Thank you for watching. Hope to see you in some next video. If you like it, do not fail to hit the subscribe button and the like button, and to give your comments. Maybe sometime they may be answered or reacted to. Thank you for watching. Hope to see you again.